I never wanted to be here. Standing in courtroom 312 with my hands gripping the polished wood of the witness stand, my voice threatening to break with every word. The fluorescent lights are too bright, making everything stark and surreal. Like I'm in a dream where I can see myself from somewhere far away. Breathe. Just breathe. Judge Harriet Lancaster peers down at me over her reading glasses, her expression unreadable. To my right, my attorney, Diane, gives me an encouraging nod. And there, sitting at the defendant's table in his perfectly pressed charcoal suit, the one I bought him for our 10th anniversary, is Michael, my husband of 12 years, the father of my child, the man who once promised to love me until death parted us, the man who now looks at me like I'm something he scraped off the bottom of his shoe. Mrs. Reynolds, my attorney begins, could you describe for the court the events of March 15th of this year? March 15th, 2 months and 16 days ago, the day everything shattered. I had just picked up Jamie from school. I say, my voice steadier than I feel. He was quiet in the car, which wasn't like him. Usually he's bursting to tell me about his day, what he learned, what games he played at recess, what Zach or Emma said that made everyone laugh. I can see Jamie now, sitting with the court-appointed guardian ad litem in the back of the courtroom. My beautiful boy, with his father's dark hair and my green eyes, looking so small and solemn in his button-up shirt. His feet don't even touch the floor from where he sits. 8 years old and already a witness in a custody battle. The thought makes me physically ill. But that day he was different, I continue. When we got home, he went straight to his room. Didn't want a snack. Didn't want to play. I followed him upstairs and found him sitting on his bed, holding his arm. When I asked what was wrong, he pulled up his sleeve. The memory hits me like a physical blow, those 5 finger-shaped bruises on my son's forearm. The perfect imprint of an adult hand. Jamie had bruises on his arm, I say, my voice breaking now despite my best efforts. Finger marks, like someone had grabbed him hard. Across the courtroom, Michael shifts in his seat, his expression a perfect blend of concern and indignation. Always the performer, always calculating his effect on the audience. And what did Jamie tell you about those bruises? Diane asks. At first, he wouldn't say anything. He just started crying. My throat constricts. I held him, told him he was safe, that he could tell me anything. I won't cry. I will not cry in front of Michael. And eventually he told me that his father had grabbed him when he spilled juice on the carpet at Michael's apartment. Said that Michael squeezed his arm and told him he was just like his mother, careless and stupid. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Michael's attorney is on his feet, objecting, calling it hearsay. Judge Lancaster sustains, but the words hang in the air. Careless and stupid. How many times had Michael called me that during our marriage? Always in private, never where anyone else could hear. Michael the respected pediatric surgeon. Michael the community volunteer. Michael the coach of Jamie's Little League team. No one would believe he could be cruel. No one would believe the things he whispered when doors were closed. No one except our son, who has heard it all. I met Michael Reed in my final year of college. I was working as a barista at the campus coffee shop. He was a second-year medical student who came in every day for the same order. Large Americano, extra shot, no room for cream. He was handsome in that classic, almost Hollywood way. Strong jaw, dark eyes that crinkled when he smiled, confident posture that commanded attention wherever he went. When he finally asked for my number, scrawling it on a napkin with a fountain pen. Who carries a fountain pen? I felt chosen. Special. The courtship was a whirlwind. Expensive dinners, weekend trips, late-night conversations where he listened, really listened, to my dreams of opening my own art studio someday. He made me feel seen in a way no one ever had before. We married a year after I graduated. I took his last name, Reynolds, Alexandra Reynolds. It sounded sophisticated, important. Just like him. The first red flag came on our honeymoon. A small thing. I ordered a second glass of wine at dinner, and his expression shifted. Just for a moment. A flash of something. Disapproval? Anger? It disappeared so quickly I thought I'd imagined it. Until later, in our suite, when he made a comment about my surprising appetite for alcohol. "Just looking out for you, ally," he said when I bristled. "You know alcoholism runs in your family." It was true. My father had been sober for 15 years, a fact I'd shared with Michael during one of our heart-to-hearts. The way he weaponized that information, so subtly, should have warned me. But love is both blindfold and gag. I said nothing. The pattern established itself slowly, insidiously. His criticisms always couched as concern. His control disguised as protection. The way he'd check my phone because you left it unlocked and I needed to make a call. The questions about where I'd been, who I'd seen, how much I'd spent. By the time Jamie was born, 5 years into our marriage, I'd lost touch with most of my friends. My art supplies gathered dust in the garage. I'd learned to anticipate Michael's moods, to adjust my behavior accordingly, to walk the tightrope of his expectations. When postpartum depression hit me like a tsunami after Jamie's birth, Michael was surprisingly supportive. He hired a night nurse. He encouraged me to see a therapist. He took family leave to help care for our son. I was grateful. So grateful that I didn't notice him documenting everything. My tears, my struggle to breastfeed, the days I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't realize he was building a case against me. One he'd use years later when I finally found the courage to leave. Mrs. Reynolds, Michael's attorney, Thomas Briggs, approaches the stand for cross-examination. He's tall and razor-thin, with the practiced smoothness of a man who charges $500 an hour. "You've testified that you discovered bruises on your son's arm on March 15th, and that he attributed these bruises to my client. Did you seek medical attention for these alleged injuries?" "Yes," I say. "I took photos and then took Jamie to our pediatrician the next morning." "Dr. Sarah Chun, correct?" "The same Dr. Chun who has been Jamie's physician since birth." "Yes. And this would be the same Dr. Chun who is godmother to your son?" My stomach tightens. "Yes. A close personal friend of yours." "We became friends over the years, yes." Briggs smiles thinly. "How convenient. And did you contact my client to discuss these alleged bruises before taking Jamie to your friend, Dr. Chun?" No. You didn't think the father of your child deserved to know about an injury you were attributing to him. I was concerned for my son's safety. Were you? Or were you building a case for sole custody, Mrs. Reynolds? Setting the stage for serious allegations that would restrict my client's access to his son. Objection. Diane is on her feet, badgering the witness. Sustain, Judge Lancaster says. "Mr. Briggs, please watch your tone." But the damage is done. The seed is planted. Vindictive ex-wife manufactures abuse allegations to punish ex-husband. It's the oldest story in the book, and courts have heard it so many times they've become cynical. Maternal protectiveness recast as manipulation. Briggs continues, relentless. "Mrs. Reynolds, you've claimed that my client was controlling during your marriage. Yet financial records show that you maintained separate bank accounts, had your own credit cards, and traveled frequently without Mr. Reynolds. How do you reconcile these facts with your allegations of control?" My hands clench in my lap. Control isn't just financial, Mr. Briggs. It's psychological. It's making your partner doubt their own perceptions. It's isolating them from support systems. It's creating an environment of walking on eggshells. Rather abstract concepts, aren't they? Difficult to prove in court. Yes, I say, meeting his gaze directly. Abusers count on that. Briggs pauses, thrown off rhythm for just a moment. "Let's talk about your mental health history, Mrs. Reynolds. You were diagnosed with severe postpartum depression following Jamie's birth, correct?" And there it is, the nuclear option. The scarlet letter in family court, mental illness. Never mind that postpartum depression affects up to 1 in 7 mothers. Never mind that I sought treatment, took medication, recovered fully. In this room, it makes me damaged goods. A risk. Yes, I answer. I was diagnosed and treated successfully for postpartum depression. Treated with Zoloft and Ativan, correct? Medications you continue to take for nearly 3 years. As prescribed by my doctor, yes. And you're currently taking medication for anxiety? Yes. Lexapro. Also as prescribed. So, it would be fair to say you have ongoing mental health concerns that require pharmaceutical intervention. I feel a surge of anger. It would be fair to say I take care of my mental health proactively, Mr. Briggs, just as someone with high blood pressure takes medication to stay healthy. He ignores this, moving to a stack of papers on his table. I have here your pharmacy records, showing that in the month following your separation from my client, you refilled your Lexapro prescription twice, indicating you were taking twice the prescribed dosage. Would you care to explain that? The blood drains from my face. How did he get those records? And why didn't my attorney know about this? I lost the first bottle. I had to get it replaced. Lost it. I see. Briggs lets the statement hang there, the implication clear. I'm either lying or irresponsible. Neither looks good for a mother seeking custody. No further questions, Your Honor. As I step down from the witness stand, my legs shaking, I catch Michael's eye. He's wearing the expression I know too well. The slight curve of his lips that isn't quite a smile, the cold satisfaction in his eyes. It's the look he'd get when he'd won an argument, when he backed me into a verbal corner, when he'd made me doubt myself. You haven't won yet, Michael. The trial stretches over 3 brutal days. Michael takes the stand, presenting himself as the concerned father, the steady force in Jamie's life while I was struggling with my issues. His attorney introduces a parade of character witnesses, colleagues from the hospital, parents from Jamie's school, even our former couples therapist, who testifies about my anger management challenges without mentioning that we sought therapy because Michael threw a wine glass at the wall during an argument. By the time we reach closing arguments, I'm exhausted, hollowed out. The financial and emotional cost of this battle has nearly broken me. If I lose, if Michael gets primary custody, I don't know how I'll survive it. But more importantly, I don't know how Jamie will. Judge Lancaster announces she wants to speak with Jamie privately before making her decision. My heart races. What has Michael told him to say? How has he prepared him? Jamie follows the judge to her chambers, his small shoulders squared with a bravery no child should have to muster. The door closes. We wait. 30 minutes pass. An hour. When the door finally opens, Jamie emerges with reddened eyes but a steady gait. He walks past Michael without looking at him and comes directly to me, pressing himself against my side. I wrap my arm around him, feeling him tremble. All rise. The bailiff calls as Judge Lancaster takes her seat. After reviewing all evidence and testimony in this case, and after speaking privately with the minor child, I'm prepared to issue my ruling, she says. But first, I wish to address something that came to light during my conversation with Jamie Reynolds. She turns her gaze to Michael, who sits straight-backed and confident. Mr. Reynolds, your son has made a very serious allegation against you. He states that you instructed him, and I quote, to tell the judge that mommy hits me when she's mad, even though she never does. He further states that you told him if he didn't say this, he would be responsible for breaking up the family forever. The courtroom erupts in murmurs. Michael's face darkens, a muscle jumping in his jaw. That telltale sign of rage I know so well. That's absurd, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. Jamie must have misunderstood. Mr. Reynolds, Judge Lancaster interrupts, your son recorded this conversation on his iPad. At my request, he played this recording for me. My heart stops. My gaze flies to Jamie, who looks up at me with a mixture of fear and pride. I know how to make videos, he whispers. Like you showed me. A memory surfaces, Jamie and I sitting at the kitchen table months ago, me teaching him how to use the video function on his iPad for a school project. My clever, brave boy. Judge Lancaster continues, this recording has been entered into evidence. Mr. Reynolds, this court takes an extremely dim view of parental coaching. particularly coaching that encourages a child to make false allegations of abuse. Such actions constitute emotional abuse of the child and attempted fraud upon the court. Michael's attorney is on his feet, damage control mode engaged, but it's too late. The mask has slipped. As his lawyer whispers urgently in his ear, Michael stares at Jamie with an expression I've seen before. Cold fury, the promise of consequences. Jamie shrinks against me. Given this new evidence, Judge Lancaster says, and in consideration of all testimony and documentation previously presented, I hereby grant primary physical custody of Jamie Reynolds to his mother, Alexandra Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds will have supervised visitation pending completion of a psychological evaluation and parenting classes focused on appropriate boundaries. The gavel falls. It's over. Michael stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. For a terrible moment, I think he might vault the barrier between us, might lunge for Jamie or me. Instead, he turns on his heel and strides from the courtroom, his attorney hurrying after him. Outside, on the courthouse steps, Jamie and I stand in the warm spring sunshine. He looks up at me, his face solemn. "Are you mad I didn't tell you about the recording?" he asks. I kneel to his level, taking his small hands in mine. "No, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. So proud. But I'm also sad you had to be so brave. Children shouldn't have to protect their parents. That's our job, to protect you. Dad said you wouldn't believe me." His voice is small. He said no one would believe a kid. The knowledge that Michael used our son's fears against him, that he deliberately exploited a child's vulnerability for his own ends, ignites a fury in me that threatens to consume everything. But Jamie is watching, learning from how I handle this moment. "Well, he was wrong," I say instead. "You told the truth, and the truth is powerful. It's the strongest thing we have." Jamie nods, considering this. Is Dad in trouble now? A complicated question. The legal system rarely provides perfect justice, especially in family court. Michael has lost primary custody. Yes, but he's still Jamie's father. We still have years of co-parenting ahead, years of navigating Michael's manipulation and rage. This isn't a happily ever after ending. It's just the beginning of a different kind of battle. But Jamie doesn't need that burden right now. Your dad has some things to work on, I say carefully. And while he's doing that, my job is to make sure you're safe and happy. That's what today was all about. As we walk to the car, Jamie's hand in mine, I think about bravery. Not the dramatic kind that gets celebrated in movies, rushing into burning buildings or facing down villains, but the quiet kind. The kind that makes a child speak truth to power. The kind that keeps a mother fighting when everything is stacked against her. The kind that allows us to face another day, another challenge, because the alternative is unthinkable. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear, the bone-deep terror of losing what you love most and moving forward anyway. It's standing in your truth, even when the world wants to bury it. It's teaching your child, through example, that justice may come slowly, may come imperfectly, but it does come. As we drive away from the courthouse, I glance in the rearview mirror. Jamie is looking out the window, his face thoughtful. For the first time in months, his shoulders aren't hunched with tension. He looks like a child again, not a pawn in an adult's game. And in that moment, I make a silent promise to him, to myself, to whatever force in the universe might be listening. This hard-won peace we've achieved, I'll guard it with everything I have. Michael tried to break us, to bend reality to his will, to use our son as a weapon. But here's the thing about karma, about the natural justice of the universe. What goes around comes around. The truth, no matter how long buried, finds its way to the light. And this time, the truth spoke in the voice of a child who found his courage when it mattered most. Some might call it justice, others karma. I call it the first day of our real lives, Jamie's and mine, finally free to write our own story. As the courthouse doors closed behind us that day, I realized that our story wasn't just about winning or losing a custody battle. It was about something far more profound, a lesson I hope Jamie carries with him long after the pain of these days fades into memory. The world isn't always fair. Systems designed to protect can be manipulated by those who know how to wear masks, how to perform righteousness while harboring darkness. For months, I watched Michael work the court like a maestro, presenting himself as the concerned father, the stable parent, the reasonable voice amid what he painted as my chaos. I watched judges and evaluators nod at his words, seduced by his performance of perfection. Power, money, charisma, these things can bend reality, can make lies sound like truth. Michael knew this. He counted on it. He thought his carefully constructed facade would be impenetrable, that my truth would shatter against it like waves against a cliff. What he didn't count on was Jamie. There's a peculiar power in innocence. Children see with clarity what adults often miss, their perception unclouded by social niceties and professional appearances. Jamie had lived in the shadow of his father's manipulation, had breathed the toxic air of his control, had felt the chill of his conditional love. And when the moment came, when everything hung in the balance, he found the courage to speak. That's the first lesson. Truth may be delayed, but it cannot be permanently denied. It waits, patient as stone, for its moment. It may come as a whisper, a recording, a child's trembling voice, but come it will. The second lesson is harder. Justice isn't a gift bestowed by courts or authorities. It's something we must sometimes forge ourselves through persistence, through documentation, through refusing to be silenced. The system isn't designed to see the subtle bruises of psychological abuse or the invisible chains of coercive control. We must make them visible again and again until they cannot be ignored. And finally, the lesson I hope Jamie understands someday. Real strength isn't found in domination or control. Michael's power was always illusory, a house of cards built on fear and manipulation. True strength lies in vulnerability, in facing pain honestly, in standing firm when everything inside you wants to run. It's found in protecting others even when you're afraid, in choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Karma isn't some mystical force that balances cosmic scales. It's the natural consequence of living authentically in a world that may take time to see truth, but eventually cannot deny it. Michael's carefully constructed reality collapsed not because of divine intervention, but because lies require constant maintenance. Truth, once spoken, stands on its own. As Jamie grows, I'll remind him that our victory wasn't just about custody papers or court orders. It was about reclaiming our story, about refusing to live in a reality designed by someone else. It was about the quiet bravery of speaking truth, even when your voice shakes. Because that's how karma really works, not as lightning from a clear sky, but as the slow, inevitable sunrise after the darkest night. What goes around does come around, not through magic, but through the enduring power of truth finally spoken aloud. And sometimes that truth comes from the smallest voice in the room.